competitive higher education opportunities in architecture and allied disciplines. The GlobEd team, consisting of assistant professors Vidya, Alicia, and myself, have been hosting this event for the past 2 years with the primary intent of bringing together the academic world and engaging the students of architecture with a common platform to connect with the best universities across the globe. The objective of GlobEd is also to ensure that the students receive first-hand information on studying abroad by inviting ambassadors, student ambassadors, representatives, and alumni to share their lived experiences. This year, the objective of GlobEd has extended to also curate recurring events throughout the year, hosting nationally and internationally renowned universities. We are immensely happy to have received overwhelming registrations from participants across colleges in India. Needless to say, the planning and execution of this event could not have been possible without the constant support of our principal, Dr. Om Prakash Bagne, and the RVCA team. I would now like to invite our principal, Dr. Om Prakash Bagne, to initiate this event with a few encouraging words.
Good morning, one and all. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of RV College of Architecture to invited dignitaries, Professor Sweta. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. A warm welcome to Professor Sweta from Auburn University, Alabama, Professor Alvin from School of Architecture, University of South California, Mr. Gary from RMIT, Australia, Mr. Saugat Das from Instituto Europeo de Design, Ms. Suganya from DAD, Germany, Mr. Arunan and team from NUS Singapore. Thank you for being on this platform on our invitation. Every year, large number of students from India, they look for the opportunity for higher education abroad. And RVCA is no exception. Every year, large number of students from RV College of Architecture also embark on their mission to acquire higher education in universities abroad. The attempt of GlobEd edition 3 is to help the student taking well-informed decision about which course they should be opting for, which university they should be going to. And what could be more appropriate than having the representative and the professors of these universities on our platform, and to provide the students an opportunity to listen to them and interact with them and get more informed and more enlightened about what they can do when it comes to taking decision. So without taking any longer time, I would welcome all the student participants to this platform. I'm sure that this particular event, which is divided into 6 different sessions, everybody would be benefited, and I think it will help you in taking the best possible decision when it comes to your decision about going abroad for master's program. So I welcome you one and all once again, and I'm sure that you will have a wonderful sessions across the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouragement. I would now like to invite our student coordinator, Ms. Vishnupriya, to take over the session and introduce the first speaker of the day.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I would like to take the honor of beginning this event by inviting Dr. Sweta Byahut from Auburn University. Dr. Byahut is an associate professor and program director of the Master of Community Planning program at Auburn University, USA. She earned a PhD in regional development planning from the University of Cincinnati and has a master's in planning in 1997 from CEPT University, Ahmedabad, a bachelor's degree from MS University, Baroda in 1995. Additionally, she holds a diploma in land management from the Institute of Housing and Urban Development Studies in the Netherlands. Her research focuses on improvising urban land management, spatial planning, and development regulation in Indian cities. She is also interested in the application of spatial analysis tools in built form analysis. Before joining academia, Dr. Byahut has a decade long experience in urban planning and consulting and applied research in various topics such as planning, legislation, and policy, development regulation, comprehensive urban development plans, post disaster reconstruction planning, and revitalization. Let me take a few more moments to discuss the courses offered by Auburn University. The Masters in Community Planning MCP program at Auburn University is a professionally oriented master's degree program. It is an interdisciplinary practice based learning environment which welcomes applications from all majors and backgrounds. The Auburn University Masters of Community Planning program is accredited by the Planning Accreditation Board PAB for a 7-year term through December 31st, 2027. It is ranked sixth among programs with largest percentage of minority representation and ranked 10th among the top small city programs by Planetizen and is recognized as a national leader. The hallmark of Auburn University Master of Community Planning is the opportunity for students to work with real clients on real planning projects in almost every class. Students participate in the Alabama City Year program, which provides real life practical experience. The MCP program also boasts of a 90 to 95% job placement rate in planning field upon graduation. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first, thank you for this very nice introduction, Vishnupriya. Thank you, Hiranmai and Principal Sir, for having me, and a very nice hello and a warm welcome to all the participants. And thank you for the opportunity for having me and talk about this program. So I would like to also share my screen. Is that possible to do that?
Yes, ma'am, you should be able to.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure that out. Just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
How do I do that?
Ma'am, there should be a share button at the bottom, a square
There's
with
an
an arrow.
upload button and the share button is not activated.
But I have given permission to everyone to share the
Okay.
screen, so all the permissions are on. You want us to demonstrate it once for you?
Sure, please.
Yeah. Vidya will do it.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you have the screens, right? This
Yes.
particular icon. Yeah, you'll have to just click on that.
Which is what I'm doing, and it says your entire screen. I
Uh-huh.
say share now. Yeah, now it's activated.
Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully this will work. Are you able to see my slide?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Apologies for that. So, since we are a little bit short on time, all because I didn't really connect the time properly, I would give a quick overview about the program and sort of walk you through the Master of Community Planning program at Auburn University. So Auburn is situated in Alabama, in the state of Alabama, which is about, and the university is about 100 miles south of Atlanta, so pretty close by on the freeway. We are on the southern part of the United States, so it's comparatively, warm climate and pretty nice. It's a college town, which is also very football crazy, if you know what I mean. Coming to the Master of Community Planning program, we are a 2-year degree program, which is 45 credit hours altogether. Most students are able to finish it in 4 semesters over 2 years. The summers, students are generally taking internships. If most of them do take internships, even though it's not required. uh, Master of Community Planning is also, community planning in general is also known as urban and regional planning or city and regional planning. And, so these are kind of the popular names of the degree. So it's not any different from any of those. As many of you might be aware, the community planning field offers a lot of different careers, including general planning positions, urban planner, urban designer, environmental planner, transportation planner is very popular, economic development specialist, GIS, which is, geographic information systems is the basis for most of the mapping that we do. So that itself is offers a lot of job opportunities, as well as some students also do public policy kind of work, or may want to become experts in historic preservation, or even go into the management side of urban management or city manager kind of positions once they are have a few years of experience. So really, it's a first professional degree. We accept applicants, and our students come from a variety of different backgrounds, including, definitely architecture and environmental design, but also um, political science or sociology or communications. We even have a few business majors, as well as civil engineers, or generally engineering. So we really have a wide variety of students currently in the program. It is also a small program. In the department, we also have a public policy and public administration PhD, as well as a master's in public administration. All of them, so 3 graduate programs offered under the same department. There is also the option of doing a dual degree, earning 2 master's degree together concurrently, with the public administration masters, and also landscape architecture masters, which is offered by a different college of architecture within Auburn University. So there are different ways students can do this. One other possibility is also going for a GIS certificate or something like an economic development certificate, which are, again, depending on the interest that the students have. As already mentioned in the introduction, we are ranked 10th in the country when it comes to small city programs. And this ranking is done by Planet Zen, which is the premier organization that does ranking of planning programs all over the United States, basically North America. And we are also ranked 6th in the country when it comes to most diverse planning programs. So we have students, again, from different backgrounds, different races and ethnicities, and different countries as well. I've already talked about some of the job opportunities that are available towards our graduates. But what I would also like to say is, I would say about 2/3 of our students or graduates work in the public sector, which could be at the local government level or state government level or the federal government level. Again, at the local government level, it could be, working as a planner with any city or region. There are many regional development councils which also hire planners. The state departments hire planners. For example, it could be, the Georgia or the Alabama Department of Transportation or any such office. And as well as the federal government level, where there are plenty of planning positions available, say with the Federal Highway Administration or the military, even. Many such options are there. About a third of our students, about 30%, also work with the private sector, usually with some sort of a firm that specializes either in design or GIS or general planning consulting work. A handful might even work for a nonprofit or a neighborhood development organization, a CDC or a neighborhood development corporation or something like that. I would say maybe 1 or 2 students every year would go ahead and do a PhD, but that's not that common. Most of them would actually just go and find a job and work as a planner. We have a wide variety of faculty. There are 5 core faculty members in the Masters of Community Planning program, and they have different skills and expertise, and they are very productive research members as well. So faculty have expertise in GIS and transportation, historic preservation, urban design, and various other areas. The one thing that is kind of the highlight of the program is the Alabama City Year program, which we manage, the Faculty of Planning manages, because this is a program where we partner with different cities around the state and sometimes also in other states, where our students actually work on real life practical projects. And these are usually requested by the cities. They have a particular planning project that they need students ideas on, and those are some really good experiences. So every student in the program gets chances to at least 3 to 4 different experiences working with different cities around the state. So in every class, there might be a project going on. So for example, in the urban design studio, there are projects like, a downtown revitalization project, or some sort of, right now, students are working on an art district that the city of Auburn is planning. On the screen, you see a picture from last year where you see students that worked in Phoenix City nearby, where they worked on a corridor plan and they worked on a downtown revitalization plan. And this was last year, and already the study was able to use the students' work and get $2 million in transportation alternative grants, and are also, they got actually $1 million, and they've applied for the second phase of another $1 million, as well as another connecting communities grant. So there's several different places where they are actually going ahead with different implementation of different projects. So absolutely, this is something our students really get a chance to talk to the mayor or the city council members and present their work in front of a wide variety of stakeholders and city leadership. So this is something that is really, that builds not just their planning skills, but also their leadership skills, and how do you actually communicate your ideas across different stakeholders, and how do you navigate the political process of planning, which is also equally important, right? um, you can see some more pictures where the students have worked, in different places. Let me actually share another part of the program. So here's the website of the Alabama City Year Program. It's www.alabamacityyearprogram.com. And if you go to this website, you will be able to see many different student projects that have been prepared by the students themselves. So lots of projects are showcased on this e-portfolio, and you can actually browse through them and see some of these experiences. So for example, if I go to the page of Dothan over here, you can see that these are the projects that students worked on. So for example, this was in 2019, where students worked on 5 different projects and helped the city put together, a wellness district master plan, or a land use capacity report, or a rental housing analysis. And each of them, you can actually, click on them and see the report themselves or the student work. This is loading, but you will be able to see the actual student works, and scroll through. So for example, this particular report was prepared by 3 students. If you see their names, Taylor, Natasha, and Yiren, and they put together the entire report, including the process of how they arrived at their project. So this is the students interacting with the stakeholders and the mayor, some of the ideas, students working in the studio. You can see final presentations, and basically all the entire student work is up here. And so this is just one example that I wanted to show you, but all such different projects are up here, all prepared by students. Similarly, you can go to any city. This is the Phoenix City example that I was mentioning earlier, where students worked on the downtown revitalization plan and the 13th Street corridor plan. So feel free to look at this website, alabamacityyearprogram.com, and see the kind of hands-on planning experiences that our students are able to gain. It is our student quality is very highly regarded around the country. As already mentioned, let me close this. We are accredited all the way until 2027 by the Planning Accreditation Board. We got a 7-year accreditation from the PAB, which is the longest term possible. They were very impressed by the program when they came, in 2020 to visit for 3 days and, experience the program for themselves. We are also ranked pretty high, again, already mentioned. Let me take you through the curriculum. The curriculum is straightforward. The first year of studies is roughly 8 different classes, 4 in one semester and 4 in the other, fall and spring. And those include everything from a basic intro to community planning, to GIS, to an urban design studio, a quantitative and a qualitative research methods class, planning history and theory, and land use law. So that's the first year of studies. And then in the second year, students generally take a synthesis studio, which is a capstone project, followed by another capstone project. So 2 of these are part of the curriculum. There is a comprehensive exam, which is more like a multiple choice exam. Most students generally pass it. And this is kind of a check in balance before students can enroll into the studio classes, the capstone projects. Students can build their own electives. So they can choose any of the 5 electives. There's a list here, but they can also do a planning internship, which counts as an elective as well. So everything from history and theory of urban form, cities planning and climate change, land use planning, sustainable transportation, affordable housing, community development, and historic preservation, real estate development, all sorts of different classes are offered. There's also a class on public sector grant writing and leadership, which is also very, very helpful for the students. And these are students, students can pick and choose which classes they want. Students can also join the program either for fall or spring. So both options are available to students. The admission process is also pretty straightforward. You would apply to the graduate school website directly. You will require to fill out the application form, submit a copy of your official transcript, and 3 recommendation letters. We do not require a GRE score or any such score. What is required for international applicants is either a TOEFL score or another English language proficiency test score. We do offer a limited amount of graduate assistantships, which are competitive in nature. I would say roughly anywhere from 15 to 20% of our students receive some sort of a graduate assistantship, sometimes more, because often students can get assistantships which are very, very competitive, which are offered by other units on campus. So it's not necessary that they have to have an assistantship offered by the department, because there are many departments or units on campus which offer assistantships. And often our students are able to take advantage of that. A graduate assistantship typically covers full tuition waiver, and also students can earn for the number of hours that they work, typically assisting a faculty member on their research. So typically our students can earn our students would work normally 13 to 20 hours a week and get paid to do that work. This is in addition to the tuition waiver, which comes as part of the graduate assistantship as well. What is also required as per the admission application process is a personal statement or a statement of intent, which is typically a couple of pages where you would explain why you want to pursue a degree in community planning and what is your future career goal. So the application process is very simple. The transcripts have to be sent. They have to be official transcripts. You may submit an unofficial transcript initially, but you would have to submit an official transcript to be admitted into the program. We also have a student organization called the Auburn University Student Planning Association. And let me just show you their website. This is a quick one, but the Auburn University Student Planning Association it's student managed body, which organizes fun events or tours, field trips. They might invite speakers to come and talk to them, a practicing planner or sometimes they even have workshops. Like last semester, they had 2 workshops. I think one was on Adobe Suite and the other one was on resume writing. So if you click on their website, you can see a statement, from the student president, Emily, currently. And in fact, today they had an event which was a coffee social, where they invited all the students and faculty to a coffee shop to just, get together and talk. Coming back, uh, if you go to the program website and click on the MCP news, you can also look at some of our newsletters. For example, this is the most current newsletter from last semester. If you click on that, you would be able to see some of the activities that students have completed in that particular semester. So this one, for example, students were working on a Rails to Trails project, where they looked at 40 miles of abandoned rail line and developed plans or proposals to convert that into a multi-use trail, which the Lee Russell Council of Governments is interested in doing. So they partnered with the students to make that happen. So you can see some of the details there. Again, students are always winning awards, both at the state and national levels. This is, again, students presenting in front of the Alabama chapter of the American Planning Association. Updates from our student body. The workshops that I just mentioned, this was a speaker event last semester, the workshop that I just mentioned, and guest lectures. We have some very brilliant students. Again, one of the current students just published a research paper in a journal article, in the Environmental Justice Journal, that just got published recently. So very accomplished students. And again, some more spotlights. So without going into details, coming back, if you also want to see some of our student profiles, there's a page called Meet Our Students, and you can see what different students have been doing. Some of our current students, some of the recent graduates. Each one of them has, an electronic portfolio that you can click on and see. For example, this is Jonathan's portfolio, and you can look at, some of the work that he has been doing. This is a beautiful shot of Auburn University, by the way. A beautiful green campus, lovely classical architecture. Again, selected works. And I'm just randomly showing you one of the students. You can look at, some of the other students yourself. Just showing you some of the projects that the students have done. Okay. Coming back.
Ma'am, can
Some
we
more-
take another 5 minutes? Just for
Yeah.
another 5 minutes. Yeah. Because we have the next speakers here.
A quick note about the faculty. As I mentioned, we are 5 core faculty members and we have some adjunct instructors. We have different faculty expertise. For example, Professor Retzlaff has expertise in historic preservation and land use law. Professor Mittal has expertise in real estate development and urban economics. Professor Mahato has experience and expertise in GIS and urban design. Professor Laframboise has expertise in affordable housing and community development. And I teach classes in quantitative methods and transportation, amongst others. So since we are running out of time, I'm going to stop.
Oh, I think she ended the call by mistake. We'll just wait for 2 minutes. Welcome, Professor Alvin and the team from USC. Please give us 5 minutes as we finish the first session. Apologies for the delay. I hope we are audible. Can you hear us, Professor?
Yep.
Okay, great. Vishnupriya, I think we'll just move on to the next session. Yeah,
Okay,
I
yes.
will inform the professor that we have ended it. Right?
Sure, ma'am. So moving on, I'd like to invite Professor Alvin Huang, Director of Graduate and Post-Professional Architecture at University of Southern California, USA. Professor Alvin AIA NOMA is a Los Angeles-based architect with a global profile. He is an award-winning architect, designer, and educator who explores the intersections between technology and culture to produce innovative design work that challenges convention and expresses universal values. He is a vocal advocate for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in design culture. His work spans across all scales, ranging from high-rise towers and mixed-use developments to temporary pavilions and bespoke furnishings. He is the founder and principal of Synthesis Plus Design Architecture and an associate professor at the University of Southern California, where he is also the director of graduate and post-professional architecture. Prior to establishing SDA, he gained significant experience working in the offices of Zaha Hadid Architects, Future Systems, ALA, and AECOM. He received an AMARC from the Graduate Design Research Laboratory at the Architectural Association in London and a BArch from the USC School of Architecture in Los Angeles. His design work has been published and exhibited widely and has gained international recognition with over 50 distinctions at local, national, and international levels, including being selected as one of 50 global inventors under the age of 50 by Images Publishing in 2015, being featured as Next Progressive by Architect magazine in 2014, and being named one of Time magazine's 25 best inventors of 2013. He has been an invited critic, guest lecturer, and keynote speaker at various institutions in US, Canada, Mexico, Chile, UK, Germany, Italy, Spain, Sweden, Israel, New Zealand, England, Singapore, India, Thailand, Spain, Japan, and China. We are also joined by Alison Hirsch, who's the director of Landscape Architecture and Urbanism, Kylie Konis, director of Building Science, and Trinidad Rico, director of Heritage Conservation from University of Southern California. Talking about USC California, the Department of Architecture at the university, USC Architecture is a dynamic platform for educating and inspiring citizen architects to analyze problems and create design solutions that respond to the challenges of our time and embrace the promise of a better built environment using their technological skill, disciplinary knowledge, professional expertise, and critical design thinking. For over 100 years, USC architecture faculty and graduates have pushed beyond the traditional boundaries of the field to pioneer many paradigm shifting new practices of architecture, which encompass more than buildings and places that shape our world. Deeply rooted in the city of Los Angeles, a global design center and cultural nexus, we use the city as a living laboratory for contemporary urban issues. While being intensely connected to global concerns, USC architects and scholars work shoulder to shoulder with surrounding communities to develop, empower, and leverage local insight that enables them to become intelligent practitioners and offer creative solutions. At USC, architecture is a critical medium to engage the social, cultural, environmental, and technological issues in the built environment of today, and perhaps more importantly, to design those of tomorrow focused on resiliency, sustainability, and equity. What do you, sir?
All right. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you for having us. My name is Alvin Huang. As mentioned before, again, I apologize for the length of that introduction and the bio. I didn't realize it was going to be read in full. Hold on, get this set up here. I'm not used to, I also apologize for not being used to Google Meets. We're usually doing everything by Zoom. Hopefully this is going to work. Do you guys see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm from the USC School of Architecture in Los Angeles. We're the school of what we like to call citizen architect. USC School of Architecture is a very large school of architecture, part of a very large research university in Los Angeles. We have 270 graduate students, 100 or so faculty with a roughly 7-to-1 student-faculty ratio. We offer 2 bachelor's degrees, 5 master's degrees, 4 dual master's degrees, and 6 certificate programs. Our students, 91% of them after graduation find employment within 6 months of graduating. 67% have full-time summer internships while they're at USC. 48% find their jobs through the USC Trojan Network. 39% within the last 10 years are now senior level leadership within their practices. And within that 10-year span, 10% have gone on to become principals or partners or start their own firms. Included within that are some of the most important architects on the planet, including Frank Gehry and Tom Main as our alumni, not to mention Paul R. Williams, who's perhaps the most important African-American architect in American history. I'm going to be joined today by my colleagues, Alison Hirsch, Director of Landscape Architecture and Urbanism, Kyle Konis, Director of Building Science, and Trinidad Rico, Director of Heritage Conservation. Collectively, the 4 of us represent the 4 disciplines that are represented in the graduate programs at USC School of Architecture. We have master's degrees in architecture, master's degrees in landscape architecture and urbanism, a master of building science, and a master of heritage conservation. As you can see from the images there, all of the products are quite different in terms of the focus of study and what is explored. But what is the same is that all of them are basically led by faculty that are at the forefront. Actually, let me try to figure out how to turn the volume down on this. Faculty that are at the forefront of thinking about the built environment and the impacts of the built environment, whether they are designers that are designing and winning awards and building buildings, or they are history theory faculty that are writing and thinking critically about the world around us and producing books and writing, or they are scientists and researchers producing white papers and journals. Our faculty are winning awards, publishing papers, building buildings, and really impacting the world around us through both practice and scholarship. It's one of the pleasures of my daily existence that I get to walk into a campus and be filled with a bunch of colleagues that I constantly come home to tell my wife how smart the people I work with are. And it's really, really a great opportunity for students to come in and not only gain from their experience of what these faculty are able to teach, but also how these faculty are able to empower and actually connect these students to the opportunities that they have created for themselves. I'll talk a little bit more specifically about graduate architecture before I hand off to my colleagues. So I'm going to start off with, I'll stop talking here.
Sir, if I may interrupt, we are unable to hear the audio.
Sorry?
We are unable to hear the audio.
Oh, you can't hear the audio. Okay, then I'll just skip the video altogether.
Right.
I'll skip the video altogether and I'll put a link to it later. So we have, within the graduate architecture program, we have 4 degrees that we offer. Technically, it's 2 degrees with two different entry points. So we have a 3-year professional Masters of Architecture degree for students with no previous architectural experience. You can get advanced standing for a 2-year Masters of Architecture degree for students with a 4-year architecture undergraduate degree. And for those that enter with a 5-year undergraduate degree in architecture, we offer a 1-year post-professional degree with 2 different concentrations, one in city design and housing, the other in performative design and technology. Our graduate architecture students are about 200 students in total. About 49% are international students, and currently about 8% of those international students come from India. So you can see here that India is actually one of the big feeder countries into our program, and one that we are very, very interested in gaining more students from. They've done really well and a fantastic impact on our program. The way we like to position what we do as graduate architecture is really thinking about architecture as the interrogation, expression, and materialization of our value systems into the built environment. And so thinking about what we design, how we design, and who we design for as ways to really think about what our value systems are, what the value systems are of our communities, and how we turn those into material things in the built environment. Our students are working with conceptual models, working with representational models, developing design skills, building full-scale prototypes, and really kind of beginning to engage design from an early get-go. All of the work that you're seeing here on the screen has been produced by our first-year students in the 3-year program. So all of these students that you're seeing and all of this work was created within months of having 0 architectural training. In the 2nd year, our student, which is the entry point for the 2-year students, the work becomes less abstract and far more professional, with a focus on building systems and technology and codes and zoning and the professional requirements of producing architecture. And then in the 3rd year, which is also the final year of, back in the 2nd year, we're working a lot with physical models and thinking about structure and material performance and thinking about how to produce architecture as something that meets professional requirements. And then in the 3rd year, or the final year of the 2-year or 3-year program, or the 1st year of the 1-year program, the work becomes highly specialized and focused on specific problems and focuses of study. And so you can see here, based off of the different studios you have as choices, students are looking at issues of tackling technology, such as the AI as Copilot Studio, or issues of social identity, as with the Oakwood Studio, focused here on an African-American community in South Los Angeles, or thinking about social issues like the Rail to Table Studio, which looks at food deserts in South Los Angeles. All of these different topics tackle a bunch of different approaches to architecture and allow students to become invested in very specific problems that have deep research focus. Then when we get into the thesis projects for that same year, each studio is then tasked with a sort of general agenda, and then students work with their instructors within that agenda to develop their own positions. And of course, we also have our thesis projects here, which are focused on our two Masters of Advanced Architectural Research Studies programs, which are much more specialized and are focused on urban housing in the city design and housing program, or on digital tectonics as it relates towards the performative design and technologies program. And so a little bit more about the Masters of Advanced Architectural Research Studies. It's a one-year post-professional graduate program. I understand most of you in this session are probably coming out of a 5-year professional program. So this is where most of my focus is on this. This is a one-year program, newly launched. So we're currently recruiting for our second incoming class. Within this one-year program, we have 2 concentrations. The first is city design and housing. The second is performative design and technology. In city design and housing, it's a one-year program where students will be specialized in looking at urban inequalities, looking at issues of racial segregation, economic disparities, gentrification, homelessness, the digital divide, migration, etc. Urban housing, looking at collective housing models, affordable and adequate housing, not-for-profit housing, informal housing, densification and housing production, and urban infrastructures, looking at street design, mobility, public transportation, walkability, public space, and issues of zoning and programming. And all of these issues are really kind of beginning to think about the relationship of housing as one of the necessities for driving the design of cities and urban environments. The other program or other concentration is performative design and technology. This program focuses on emerging design technologies such as parametric modeling, design computation, digital fabrication, data-driven design such as environmental analysis, data visualization, data spatialization, artificial intelligence, etc., and performance-based design. So thinking about issues of environmental performance, solar performance, thermal performance, and material performance. All of those programs, whether they're the 1 year, all of those programs help us produce a fleet of alumni that go on to do really, really fascinating things. These are some images from our Generation Next series of events. Generation Next is a series of events where we invite recent alumni, all with it since 2000 onwards, who have gone on to do some sort of independent, individual, entrepreneurial endeavor that have done something on their own, started their own practice or started their own firm. Some of them have gone on to furniture design or interaction design or filmmaking or graphic design, and have created their own success stories individually. We also provide students with summer internships that are not directly through us, but through our architectural guild. But through us, we provide spring break externships. And the spring break externships are 1-week placements in local design practices, in a number of design practices throughout Los Angeles. And this year we've expanded and have also included 1 firm in San Francisco and 1 firm in New York City. And students get 1 week placements in those offices to shadow and get exposure to the professional practice of architecture while they're still students. And finally, the last thing I will talk about before I hand it off to my colleague Alison is this is some images from our USC Grad Architecture Instagram account. If you guys are on social media, I will place a link in the chat. There's a bunch of links. Our USC Grad Architecture Instagram account does a really good job of kind of showcasing a lot of the work and the activity and the culture that happens within the school. It is a great way to get to know us and what we do. And with that, I will hand off to my colleague Alison, who will introduce the Landscape Architecture program.
Thank you so much. That was great, Alvin. Thank you for passing it on. I'm also not that familiar with Google Meet, so hopefully this will go off without a glitch. 1 second. Can't share your screen. Okay. Let's try this again. My entire screen this time. No. Screen recording permission is what I need. Is that something I can easily do?
Let me quickly check, ma'am. All the
I think that's on my
permissions
side.
have been, yeah, I've given all the permissions.
Okay, so maybe I need to take off the privacy. I don't know if somebody else wants to take the reins here, because I will need to figure this out.
Kyle, you want to jump the queue?
Yeah, so we could skip over and I'll try the same, probably the same steps that you're trying, Alison, but we'll see if it works better for me. All right.
I actually might. Oh, I have to quit and reopen, but okay, go ahead. You go ahead.
All right, let me see if it's any different for me.
I think it's when you join, it asked you a question, like a thing popped up that said, "Are you okay with being recorded?" And then I clicked yes, but if you click no, that's what it sounds like it is.
Yeah, I'm running into that same privacy issue, so.
I could do one thing. I could make you the co-host, so then probably you would still have a chance to. Oh yeah.
You can see my screen, correct?
It's working, yeah.
I will jump in then. You have to restart Chrome. Is the
Oh my
unfortunate
goodness.
aspect of this. Anyway, so I'm going to assume you can see this. I cannot see you anymore, but this is unusual. I'm very used to Zoom, but I'm happy to be here. I'm here to present the graduate program in Landscape Architecture and Urbanism, and I am understanding that I'm speaking to a number of undergraduate students finishing off their 5-year degree in architecture. So to give you a sense of where we focus our energy, we have a number of what we call B-ARCs, or 5-year degree graduating students entering our graduate program. They do get advanced standing in our program. We have a specialized curriculum for students that have an undergraduate education in architecture, but it does get you up to speed in terms of thinking around landscape and the urban scale. We really use the complex sort of regional geography of Southern California as a laboratory to generate and test responses to the planet's most pressing environmental challenges. Those include resounding impacts of climate change, rapid urbanization, social and environmental injustice, and the interface of nature and technology. And just so you have a sense, our program is focused on the public realm, and it spans scales of impact from site design, such as parks and schoolyards, to urban design, to territorial responses to climate stress that impact our immediate region and the globe. In terms of priorities, I mean, if you are interested in landscape architecture and you're looking at a number of programs, some of the things that distinguish us are we are very much a design program, design first, and I mean that in obviously I'm speaking to a number of architectural students, so this should seem obvious, but in a number of graduate programs of landscape architecture, you might see restoration or urban planning and policy as one of the primary emphases. And while those elements are integrated into our curriculum, we really do prioritize design and design inquiry. Another aspect of our curriculum that distinguishes us from some of our neighboring programs is we have a real emphasis on field learning. And what I mean by that is we take students out into the field, into the various diverse geographies that is represented by the Southern California landscape. For those of you unfamiliar with Southern California, we can get from the desert to the mountains to the sea within an hour's drive. So we start our degree program with a multi-day trip at the Wrigley Institute, which is on Catalina Island, just off of the coast, where USC has a marine biology institute. Our curriculum is a sequence of design studios, media and fabrication, history and theory, performance technologies, plant materials and ecology, construction and practice, also urbanism and community-based design. And those are all intended to prepare you as thought leaders in the practice of landscape architecture and really tackling some of the most critical environmental and social challenges of our day. We do have, as part of that field learning curriculum, we do have an emphasis, or at least a foundation, in urban ecology, learning from the sort of very best of our region in terms of getting a broad and field-based understandings of the ecologies of the regions that surround us and can be found in other parts of the world. So there's an incredible application in terms of the biomes that are represented in our very immediate region. I run something as a program director called the Landscape Justice Initiative, which really focuses on the curriculum's longstanding commitment to environmental, social, and climate justice issues. And what that initiative does is it actually allows for applied research and practice on projects through sustained amounts of time with communities that have typically in areas that design has not reached. So we're talking about communities that have suffered from environmental burdens, disinvestment, other forms of institutionalized practices of discrimination and exclusion. And that includes both in Los Angeles, in Southern and Central California, and more nationally and globally. So in terms of the real intentions of this, is it's very much embedded in our attitudes around studio, but these projects that you're seeing here also offer opportunities for students to get involved as research assistants and real sort of research leads in terms of filling this gap between academic inquiry and sort of meaningful change on the ground. So it provides a chance for students to participate in what we call service learning, but also in these long-term projects that depend on sustained engagement with local and regional communities. It also offers opportunities for students to sort of understand how to initiate projects outside the structures of the market. So offering opportunities to discover one's agency and in order to develop into sort of future leaders in design and environmental decision making. One element of this is, for instance, or one major point of focus in terms of the initiatives are on in this case, the democratization of civic space for the unhoused. But we have continued to look at the homelessness crisis, which is a major crisis in Los Angeles, among many other cities, and have continued this work to really focus on urban cooling for the most vulnerable. And that has continued in a number of different research initiatives that have involved the city and the county. Other elements of the Landscape Justice Initiative, as it's part and parcel with our curriculum, is really focusing on climate justice at the urban scale and really focusing on areas and communities that have suffered from extremes of environmental burden, such as pollution, but also urban heat, which is a major issue in our region. Another element of this component of our curriculum is it provides avenues and opportunities to collaborate with community partners. And so that opens up sort of alternative pathways for students to transition from the program to diverse professional opportunities beyond. I'm going to move forward, but as I've already mentioned, students are entering our program with a strong investment in designing for climate adaptation and resilience, and many of the faculty are asking questions that cross sort of questions of equity with climate resilience and climate adaptation. So in terms of our faculty and opportunities to work with them, we actually are, our full-time faculty are all working in rigorous arenas of research, and they span everything from the Landscape Futures Lab, which I can talk about very briefly, to, I think I have a video embedded in here. Well, I will go on to this, to Professor Alex Robinson's LA Integrated River Lab, which is along the LA River, which is a channelized river that's often pictured in movies about Los Angeles, but is really focused on its future for both flood control, which is why it was channelized originally, but also ecological health, biodiversity, and recreational opportunities that are made accessible to all the city's residents. And I already mentioned the Landscape Futures Lab, which is a design research incubator for climate innovation and imagination. And why I'm speaking specifically about faculty research is because there are opportunities to get involved as research assistants with these individualized faculty. So at the lab, the intention is to develop sort of multimodal and multiscalar research that explores sort of the applications of technology within the biophysical world, and spans scales of impact from the territorial to very small, almost microscopic scale in terms of biological media and their performativity, and how to be building sort of in collaboration with biological organisms in order to address challenges that are all around us. And part of that lab is, students have been exhibited and featured in various publications. I do a lot of work, I'll just say very briefly, I'm not going to get into it because I know that I want to pass it on to my neighbors, but I do a lot of work in agricultural landscapes and looking at alternatives of industrialized agriculture. And I know that, this is a question throughout the globe in terms of food production and how we address the growing demand with climate stressed environments that are producing the food we eat. And so it's really focused on the large scale systems that enable that industrialized agriculture and put stress on it, and the rural communities that are impacted by that most immediately by that climate stress. The last thing I will actually talk about is the real curriculum. As I mentioned, there is a two-year accelerated curriculum. We have a 3-year program as well, but I'm going to focus on the 2-year curriculum. We all together start with a sort of foundations workshop. We do a lot of field studies. We get to know the river, as you're seeing here. We have people out in the field. They start their studio experience again in Catalina Island, working together. And really exploring, again, those regional ecologies. This is complemented by a media curriculum where we're doing all sorts of digital, everything from analog to digital fabrication, to history and theory, to urban ecology, and complemented by field schools that are offered during the summer across the American West, but also internationally to different points around the globe. The last thing I'll say is that and I think that Trinidad and probably Kaya will both talk about these dual degree opportunities, but we've also recently really solidified a number of different dual degrees that bring together both landscape architecture and urban planning, which is a much longer standing dual degree. And it's actually with our neighboring school, the Price School of Policy, and we have a number of students actively involved in that dual degree. And with heritage conservation, which is a more recent dual degree, but is actually attracting students with incredible interest in cultural landscape and cultural landscape studies, both regionally and throughout the globe. So we're really excited about that particular program. Alvin has already sort of gone through, at least for architecture, the career support and the employability of our students. We have a lot of opportunities to ensure that our students move on into all sorts of diverse professions, but most especially actively in landscape architectural design and urban design. And we have a number of students winning national awards that have just sort of blown us away in the past few years. In terms of the faculty that are outside research, they're representative from programs, from practices that are nationally and internationally known. So that in the actual program, you will be guided by faculty that often hire our students. And with that, I think I'm going to end and pass it on to Kyle. I hope I didn't overstep my
All right.
minute allotment.
Okay, thanks, Allison. So I'm going to take over and see if I can seamlessly. Oh, no. All right, we'll launch this. And let me know if you can't see it.
Yes, we can see.
We're good? All right. Okay, so I'm Kyle Konis. I'm the director of the Chase Leavitt Master Building Science program here at USC. And I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit just to keep us on time. I know we've got an hour total here. This is a photo just showing the size of our program for our second year thesis students who have now since graduated. And so we have a program of about we're a 2-year program, and we're focused on improving the performance of buildings, and in particular in response to a range of factors that are very apparent in our daily life now. Climate change, the need to, at the global level, collaborate to reduce the energy and resource use of buildings as we continue to build and develop and increase the urban footprint of the built environment. This is a quick description of the building science degree program. We are a STEM-oriented program, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we have a strong emphasis on the application of promising new technologies in the service of our program goals. And one of the evolutions of the program is to broaden our interest to look at all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. We use this as a framework to organize thesis projects and to scope educational activities within our courses. And this extends from our traditional focus on energy and resource conservation and the application of passive environmental design principles in buildings. Some things we do in terms of our expertise and our interests, and in particular our faculty strengths. We are specialized in environmentally responsive building design methods, building enclosures, the building facade or the envelope of buildings, particularly non-residential buildings, are becoming increasingly complex technically, and the challenges associated with that, in particular, to ensure that the buildings are energy efficient and climate resilient, requires a specialized interest in building enclosure. Technologies that I've already started to allude to, design computation and performance analysis. So thinking about setting goals for a project before it's built and using software supported design methods to ensure that the project, once it's built, performs as intended, and then tracking that performance over the life cycle of the building and learning lessons from real projects to feed back into the design process for future buildings. Therefore we can claim we're innovating or we're improving the standard for buildings within the profession. If we don't do that, then how can we make that claim? We are very interested in health and human factors. This is a frontier of research that's getting a lot of attention rather, as we see the more linkages with the exposures in buildings and in urban environments and health outcomes. So we're particularly interested in how architecture and sound design principles can be sort of interventions or treatments in a sense to address a range of health factors. And that's only gotten more interesting, let's say, or important as we've gone through the COVID pandemic and we've started to understand the fragility of our conventional means of sealing buildings up and recirculating the air inside of modern buildings. We also do high performance structural design and materials research with an emphasis in parametric computing. And we focus on sustainability. That's one of my areas of interest, which again, we scope that broadly, looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. And let me just keep it moving here. We have a thesis track and a non-thesis track for our students. So one of the kind of shining stars of our program is the opportunity to do a one-year self-directed thesis research project. And in many cases, students find that's very, very helpful for them as they prepare for their next step in their professional career. And somehow I've just lost my screen. There it is. The non-thesis track appeals to students who may have already completed a thesis or are interested in more structured program or educational opportunities, and our certificate programs, which if I have time, I'll jump into that. You can read more of our about our certificate programs on the website. And here we have the Master of Heritage Conservation / Master of Building Science dual degree program, which links these two programs around shared interest in the existing built environment and the underlying history and sort of cultural significance of existing buildings. The certificate programs, you will have to go to the website here. I've tried to put links at the bottom. I don't think these are hot links, but you can just take a visual note of those to navigate your way to the the details for each of these certificate programs. And these are generally, I think, around 12 to 14 units. So 3, 4, or 5 classes, depending on how many units those classes are. And those roll up into certificates that you can achieve along with your degree program that you're pursuing. One of the, I would say one of the outstanding features of our program is that we don't merely place students, into sort of entry-level positions in the professional world, but we have students that in their time at USC are actually inventing new roles for themselves in the profession as the profession is shifting, or the ground underneath the realm of professional practice in architecture, engineering, and construction is really being shaken by the need to respond and adapt to climate change. And so this is one of our not so recent graduates now in a leadership role as a resilience engineer. And had we talked about the career path of resilience engineering, to our students, they wouldn't have believed us. But now we have a student actually doing that in her professional activities. We also have students who go on to pursue PhD degrees in PhD programs. We have a number of students that graduate and become sort of specialized sustainability minded designers or practitioners within architecture firms. Many go into consulting. We have a whole range of students who are in the sort of tech industry and the spin-offs in building information modeling. And there's very fascinating stories to be told tracking the sort of professional trajectories of our students as they go on and pursue their careers. This was a visit. One of the nice things about being in LA is many of the firms have their offices downtown. And so when we tour these firms, they're often recruiting from our existing students. And often now the people doing the recruiting are the alumni from our program. So we've had some alumni give us tours of their office as we're sort of returning here in the States. back to the workplace. So we're getting back into offices now and getting to interact with the sort of the profession directly. This was a social event. This may look like people are learning here, but it's really a social event hosted by Matt Construction, which is one of the most, I would say, interesting and innovative construction or general contractors in Los Angeles, and noted number of buildings that they've worked on it that's sort of shown in the background there. And Steve Matt is one of our guild members and was generous enough to host the students at his office in downtown. We have a vast array of faculty. Those faculty are growing as we continue to hire for new courses or to support our existing courses. And so we are bringing in a lot of interesting perspectives and sort of backgrounds and expertise into the program through our pool of full-time and part-time faculty. And finally, I'm going to wrap up here. I just have the sense that I'm over time. So I'm going to, I'll close on this slide, and then if there are questions and I have more time, I'll pick it up. But this is really if I had to have one slide that summarizes the goal of our program, it's to place architects and designers and building science, Master of Building Science students in particular on the front lines, are really at the forefront of the transition to decarbonization in the built environment. And that means a gradual but time-bound transition from carbon-intensive building practices and operations today to the decarbonized and ultimately net zero carbon future that we really can achieve and are achieving here in California, but will need to achieve if we want to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. So I'll pause up here, and again, I have a whole range of slides, but I'm going to cede the rest of my time, if I have any, just to keep us on schedule here.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm going to try to share and see if I did everything great. I did it right. Okay, you know what? In the interest of time, I'm going to just talk without my slides. Is that okay, Alvin? Okay. I was going to do it very summarized anyways, and I'm so glad that my colleagues have already covered so much of the amazing intersections that we're offering here in the School of Architecture at USC. I'm the new director of the Heritage Conservation Program. So I didn't have any exciting pictures of the students doing work on the ground anyway. So it was going to be more of like a lot of beautiful fonts. About 20 years ago, in 2002, the program changed from being a program on historic preservation to being rebranded as a heritage conservation program. This is really important because what it intended to do was to take on a much more global perspective and situate the problems of heritage and its management and mobilization and social concerns in a much more global context. And this is particularly relevant for the time, a time like this, when we're trying to recruit students from countries outside of the States and from even areas outside of California. My expertise in particular is on non-European nations, generally and broadly speaking. I've worked in Southeast Asia on post-disaster recovery, so I'm quite passionate about studying risk and recovery from the heritage perspective. And then I moved on to work in the Arabian Peninsula, where I work more centrally on the question of religion and modern society as it relates to how we make decisions about heritage. All of these interests are poured, and not just my interest, but that of other faculty that I work with, are poured into this really exciting syllabus we have for the Master of Heritage Conservation, which includes a very in-depth training to do with kind of contemporary issues in heritage, but also a lot of elements that have to do with the way we position this in a global perspective. I'm joined in the Masters by a really exciting group of professionals from across California. We take advantage of incredible scholars that have their own firms and have extensive experience. A lot of them teach at various programs, so we have a lot of crossover. We As the same model that Alison discussed and Kyle discussed for the dual degrees, we have those 2 dual degrees with landscape architecture and with building science, but we also have another long-standing dual degree with urban planning in the Bryce School. So it's really great that our curriculum also crosses over with all these other schools, and students get to be exposed to other disciplines that really prepare them for the real world and in the way in which they will mobilize their knowledge in the context of other professionals. It's a very boutique program. We probably have around 10 students on like a very popular year. So we do get to spend quite a lot of time supporting students and training them into how to produce a research paper and making sure they take on transferable skills that have to do with becoming a researcher and a thinker and a leader in the field. And I'm really mindful of the time, Alvin, so I'm going to pass it on to you because I think we should say something about admissions and the type of students we're looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Trinidad. I just posted a bunch of links on the chat for the application processes. I have a short presentation. I think we're a little bit short on time, so I won't worry about presenting the application process. I think it's mostly self-explanatory. But if you click on those links, you'll find the processes for applying. There are also links specifically for requirements for international students. But I would like to open it up for any questions that people might have for any of us.
Thank you, professors. Students, if you have any questions, you may put them across in the chat box. Meanwhile, could you just throw some light on the scholarships that the students can apply for?
Right. So we have a rolling admission deadline. So applications are rolling up for international students up till May 1st. May 1st would be the last possible date for international applicants to apply. When you apply, merit scholarships are part of the consideration, so you do not need to apply separately for merit scholarships. Merit scholarships are based off of the strength of your submission in your application. And so basically by applying, you are applying for merit scholarships. We do award merit scholarships up to as much as 75%, but I would say that is a very rare occasion. But scholarships are available and are quite competitive. So I would say that that's where it's important. I think the things that really distinguish the students that we're looking for tend to be in architecture, your portfolio, and landscape architecture, I believe, also has a portfolio requirement. I believe MHC and MBS do not require a portfolio. I believe MBS has an optional portfolio submission. But I think the things that really will determine your ability to be considered for a merit scholarship will be your academics, meaning your grades, but more importantly, your personal statement in terms of being able to illustrate your purpose and your sort of desires for why you are achieving your degree or why you're applying for that particular degree and who you are and what that means to you. I think those, along with your letters of reference, can go a really long way to determining what type of person we see as the best fit for our programs. And I think that's the most important thing is don't look at the application as a chance for you to tell us what you think we want to hear. Look at the application as a chance for you to tell us something about you that is genuinely about you and your interests and your desires. And that honesty and that sort of genuine approach is what will actually win us over, rather than kind of regurgitating our website back to us. Got a question here. What sort of roles in specific will students be looking at post these programs? I think that it's really generally all over the place. I think architecture is, in my domain, very clearly the primary post-career destination. Basically, students will leave to become licensed architects and work in architectural practices. but also they'll go on to work in any number of fields related in the design professions, whether they're in engineering or construction management, or moving off into other creative disciplines like photography or filmmaking, fashion design, interaction design, product design, interior design, industrial design, etc.
I have a question on the STEM program. I understand it does give the flexibility for the student to extend his or her visa as well as work uh, to pay off loans. Probably, could you elaborate a little more on that for the
Right.
students'
So
benefit?
I believe MBS, MLA, MArch, and MARS are all STEM designated degrees. MHC is not, I understand. Yeah, I don't think it is that. So STEM designated degrees are degrees that when an international student graduates with a degree from a STEM designated degree in the United States, normally students get a 1-year OPT period, meaning after they graduate, it's 1 year of optional professional training, meaning they have a 1-year visa for gainful employment with their degrees in the United States. STEM designated degrees get an extra 2 years, so you get a 3-year window to work in the US.
Do we have any questions specific to domains?
I have a question regarding heritage conservation. So the scope of the course and how does it affect our study time if we choose to kind of go ahead with heritage conservation in USC?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the beginning of your question. What's your concern?
So the scope of the course and the kind of jobs that we can take up and how it might affect our education.
You mean the jobs you take up simultaneously while you're studying?
Yeah, while and eventually.
So it depends on what type of visa status you're in. So that's something to consult with your advisors. We actually have dedicated advisors for our graduate students, so you get quite a lot of support compared to my experience as a grad student. So it really very much depends on that. You have to keep a minimum enrollment in order to maintain your visa status. But a lot of our students, I want to say actually all of our students work, especially in the second year, ideally in something related, right? Something that was an internship and became a job. We try to either cluster all of your coursework into like very specific days. So students only have to come to campus on specific days while they work part-time, or have courses in the evening to try to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
There was another question in the chat about job opportunities for Indian students after their master's. And so all of the master's programs are full-time programs, which require you to be enrolled in a minimum of 15 units at a time. A full-time student at USC is anywhere between 15 to 18 units, which, by the way, is one of the hacks for saving money on your tuition, because your tuition is based off of a per unit basis. But if you're a full-time student, you pay 15 units, but have the ability to take up to 18. So you can take, if you take 18, you're technically getting 3 units for free. It does mean you have increased workload, but you are getting those 3 units without having to pay for them. But for students international students that wish to be in a paid position while they're a student, need to register for what's called a CPT, which is curricular practical training, and includes a 1-unit course, ARC 524, which once you take that 1-unit course enables you to be able to work in a part-time employment while you're a student. Part-time employment as a student, I believe, is 20 hours per week, up to 20 hours per week during the term, and during off terms, you can work full-time. Alison, you want to articulate the...
No, I more or less chatted exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in landscape, I don't know if that was specific to any one particular program. But Trinidad just said that she has students that are often working during the day and then studying at night. In the first year of the landscape program is usually if students are working, it's typically with a faculty member. So working on particular research initiatives, and then almost always transition into internships during their upper levels.
And I would say the same for architecture. In the first year, if students are working, it tends to be as class assistants or work assistants that research assistants that support faculty in school or work in facilities on campus. And then as they gain experience, they start to gain the ability to work outside of the school.
I have clarification on the word units that you use, 13 units,
Yes.
15 units. Is it equivalent to credits?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's it. It's great having all of you here. Thank you, professors. It's been an honor and a pleasure hosting you today. I know it's quite late for you, and thank you for accommodating us.
Thanks for having us.
We'll keep in
you so
touch.
much.
Any more questions,
you.
I'll directly get in touch with all of you. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Namaste. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Namaste.